Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tarda Zone. And we are here for Friday Night Contact. And there's only two of us tonight because Lee is a bit tired because, Lee is Lee. Lee will, he does his thing on social media. He forgets to sleep. And before you know it, he's awake 15, 16 hours. And then his body just gives up. So he's off to have a sleep, I hope because I told him to go because he said he wouldn't be able to make. So he better be in bed and not listening to this right now. But as I said, we do have Chris here with us. So tonight, obviously, we'll be talking about Alec Baldwin because he's being charged. James Gunn responds to rumors of the casting of Superman. We'll be talking a little bit about that as well. And there's a little bit more DC news involving Aquaman. So stay tuned for that. Apparently, Cobra Kai season 6 is the final season of Cobra Kai, and that pisses me off, man. I actually thought this show could go on for a little bit longer, but apparently it is ending real soon. So that's some of the news tonight. But I tell you, just to start off, I've had a bit of a weird week and a weird end to the week this week. I didn't expect to wake up this morning to be called all sorts of names and then to have someone on Twitter accuse me of genocidal talk and stuff, and then they end up taking
lovely comments directed towards me as well,
and some horrible comments, which I wasn't going to highlight because I know you get upset about it, Chris, but it had to be highlighted because this has been going on 5-6 years now. It needs to bloody stop. But we're not going to get into. But we won't get into.
Just one thing I'll let everybody know: I'm kind of half here today. I've had the migraine from hell for the past 2 days. It's finally subsided, but I won't be my usual
he'll be
flamboyant self.
Listen,
I'm half here.
Yeah, we'll finish up when we get everything done. It has been a bit of a rough week for a lot of people. Chris has had a rough week. Lee has had a rough week, and I had a great week until. Obviously, when I woke up this morning to see all the horrible things aimed towards me, but that's what you get when you criticize stuff out there. Remember, you're a right-wing extremist if you have different opinions to the left, the usual. But let's get into this this news and let's forget about all the nonsense that's going on. But obviously,
he's on other nonsense.
Onto other nonsense. That's it. Onto other.
And I only half know what's going on this week, so I'm going to be commenting on things as Noel brings them up. Although, are we starting with Baldwin?
We'll start with Alec Baldwin. So,
this I have followed.
So, obviously, everybody has heard the news. So, on the set of Rust last year, Alec Baldwin was handed a prop gun. It wasn't checked, and he aimed at a couple of people messing about. And a couple of people ended up being shot. One obviously passed away. And after the incident, I will say Alec Baldwin didn't cover himself in glory whatsoever. He was gloating and stuff like that. Now I'm an Irishman, so I'll give you my point of view on it. Chris is from Canada, obviously next to America, so he might have a slightly different opinion. Because
I have a very clear opinion on this, going in multiple directions.
Right, but my opinion is as simple as this: you've got modern technology nowadays, right? And this is what I don't understand with the likes of prop guns and all of this. You've got modern technology nowadays, right? Where, for example, I was watching a video on Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's a scene where Captain Jack, Johnny Depp's character, is pulling the Black Pearl behind him. But if you actually see the CGI effects and how that was created, it's actually quite clever. Why can't they do the same? Put some, it's green screen or blue screen. Why can't they put a stick in their hand or something, right? And CGI the gun in, right? I don't get nowadays. I can understand the back of the day in Hollywood that you'd have props. But nowadays with the technology, I don't get it. Now, my opinion on the Alec Baldwin thing is as simple as this. A person died, right? Because he was negligent and the people around him were negligent. Should he be charged with what he's being charged with? I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you. He didn't set out to kill anybody. Let's make that point clear. But someone has passed away. I think this whole incident should change the way Hollywood does things, but unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think it will. But I just don't get the thing with guns. I never have, because I'm Irish. I'm on this side of the pond. I don't get the mentality when it comes to guns and stuff like that. And I've seen some stuff on social media this week. A kid and the father's teaching the kid, like 4 or 5-year-old, how to load and unload a gun. Like, you wouldn't see that in Ireland, and to me, that's baffling. But again, I don't live over on that side of the pond, so I can't really judge. So without further ado, I will actually get Chris's opinion on this Alec Baldwin thing, because it is a bit of a, I think a lot of people did expect it, except for Alec Baldwin, because he was gloating that he did nothing wrong. But what do you think, Chris?
Well, there's a couple different angles here. Alec Baldwin is a bag of blowing hot air. I think we can all agree he's a jackass.
Yeah,
he's arrogant. He's been in good movies. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's abusive as well. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah, he's an asshole. He is an asshole. It's gone to his head. I think he thought he was above the law. But then there's the other aspect where you have to look at the situation itself. And if we are going to look at this with an objective point of view, we have to just set aside for the moment that Alec Baldwin is a
dickhead.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. I was going to go with we'll go with head wearing a dick. But we need to look at the objectively who's at fault here. So yeah, and Noel brings up a good point. There's no need, and this was in 2021, for or even fake rounds to be on set. Like, you can have the gun, but you just put a squib in or something. I don't care how low budget your movie is; it doesn't cost much for that CGI. Exactly. But regardless, and Alec Baldwin was also a producer on this film, so in terms of liability, there is some responsibility there.
Yeah.
But this also comes down to arrogance and just carelessness on his part. But it also comes down to extreme incompetence in terms of the person who was actually responsible for this, which would be Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was the prop master on this film. And it's been I followed this when it first came out. I think I remember most of the.
One of them has made I don't know which one, Chris, but one of them has made a plea deal. I do know that. The other two, Alec and someone else, is being charged, but the other person.
Think there was 3 people responsible here.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat will let us know, but this is how it went down initially. So Hannah Gutierrez Reed, hired, not competent in the slightest. Her dad is a world famous prop master. She's an idiot. There also she was cheap. Apparently she was also hired because of the usual reasons involving boxes with checks, which we're not really going to go into right now. But they hired somebody who was a moron, somebody who was completely incompetent. Mm-hmm. I know her social media at the time, they're putting it all over the place. And this was just an airhead ditz. And apparently, even before this, there had been issues on the set where they were shooting off live rounds. Apparently, Hannah, the airhead, was one of the people setting these off. Apparently, she wasn't doing her job. Her job was to make sure that there were no live rounds in the props before it's handed to the actor. Technically, it's not the actor's responsibility, although honestly, Baldwin, you should have double checked, because by this point you must have known with the complaints, and people had also quit. Most of the production team had actually quit prior to this because of safety issues on set. Hannah the airhead being one of the main reasons for this. So you probably should have known that you couldn't really put your faith in this person, but this idiot, busy posting on Instagram or whatever the hell she was doing, gave him the prop, said there were no live rounds. Again, she's an idiot, so he should have double checked. But she was not the only one, the other one. And I'm guessing, I haven't looked at the updates today because I've been incapacitated. But there's also Joel Souza, which was one of the producers. I can't remember what his exact position was, but he was also the one that double verified that there were no live rounds in the gun. So Baldwin went ahead and apparently was just practicing the shot, thinking that the gun wasn't loaded, and pop, it went off. Injured. Well, apparently I think it's the same person, the Joel Souza person. I think he was the one that was injured slightly. And don't quote me on this, but I'm not entirely sure if it was him or what. I don't want to get the names mixed up. It may have been him. It may have been somebody else, but there was a third person. Probably the plea deal. Somebody going my head too hurts too.
Well, this is what I've been told. Is one of them did a plea deal to throw the other two under the bus, and if that is the case,
actually, and I'm just I'm looking at this here. I don't want to get the things wrong. Okay, so I've just pulled it up on Wikipedia. Okay, so Rust shooting incident. So we need to get the names clear. Okay, so participants, main participant Alec Baldwin, outcome still under investigation, deaths Helena Hutchins, non-fatal injury. So actually Joel Souza was the non-fatal injury, so he was the one that was standing next to her. Accused Alec Baldwin and Hannah Gutierrez Reeves. Convicted David Halls. So I'm just going to pull this up. I think he was the other person responsible, and I got the names mixed up. So he was first assistant director, so he pled guilty to the charge of the negligent use of a deadly weapon. Negligent is probably an understatement. But anyway, so the way it goes is, so Baldwin, being the pompous jackass he is and arrogant, was handed a live round after being confirmed by two people that it was not a live round. He was practicing his shot, aiming at the camera with people behind it, and they weren't actually filming, so it wasn't caught on scene. They were setting up the shot. Round went off, so he ended up killing Elena Hutchinson. So, and this is the question right here. So, who was responsible? Baldwin bears liability in the terms that he was an executive producer on the film. He's one of the people responsible for hiring this idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, you think, you're being given proper information, I would have wanted to have double checked that there were no live rounds before aiming this. Also, forensics examined the gun, and they said, or the FBI analyzed the gun, and apparently it would not have gone off unless you physically pulled the trigger with some force. So it wasn't something that
Yeah, because didn't he try to deny, Chris? Didn't he try to deny originally that he didn't pull the trigger?
Yeah, no, that's the one thing that I gathered. So the FBI has, like, they've taken the gun, they've taken it apart, and they said there's no way that this gun would have accidentally disfired, that he would have had to depress the trigger fully for the gun to go off. So he was being probably a jackass, saying, "Look at me, I'm Adam Baldwin, I'm cool," and boom, yeah, that's it. So is he? He's responsible for being stupid.
Should he face? I'll ask you this question: should he face prison time? Do you think he should face prison time?
I think he's lied. And I'm assuming he's lied to the investigators, because he lied during the interviews, and I'm assuming he said the same thing where he did not pull the trigger, when ballistics have proven that he did pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So I think he's liable there. I think in this, we're not looking at a case of first or second degree murder. It wasn't intentional. I believe he's been charged with manslaughter. I'm not sure what degree, but I think technically, yes. But I think the responsibility, even more so, Gutierrez should have a higher charge, because it was her negligence directly that resulted in death. So I think, I don't think they should be sentenced to life. but I think Gutierrez, she is responsible for the death. I think Baldwin, I think he needs to do prison time, and it can't be some kind of cushy thing, because people are tired of this double standard for the quote elites of society versus the rest of us. I think Alec Baldwin does need to do some prison time, and not in a golf course prison. And I think they're saying they're both looking at 5 years.
Yeah, five
Give
to
them
three to
five
5
years.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
We need to make an example of these people. They need to stop being treated like our friend Ezra, like they're above the rest of us. They're not. There can't be two sets of laws. I think the elites need to be treated like the rest of us, because if it was me or Noel that had been in this position, we would have
We'd
been
be
in
locked
jail
up.
already.
Oh, we'd get the book thrown at us, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the difference. You are right. I think an example does need. I mean, your woman. I will say, Alec Baldwin. To me, he is responsible because obviously he was producer and he was acting irresponsibly. But the main culprit here has to be the person that handles the props. Let's be honest. I think that person.
Reed.
Yeah, she should definitely get the bigger sentence there. In fairness, but
I think there's another dimension to this here, Noel. There's another example to be set here. We need to stop giving people jobs that they aren't qualified for,
exactly,
because they can check a certain box over people that are qualified.
Exactly.
Because it's one thing, if it's a job where lives aren't potentially at stake. But this, and in other fields, and we've seen this time and time again, where somebody was given the job who shouldn't have been given the job. They weren't capable of doing the job. And just having minimum qualifications, which I don't even think she had, is not an excuse.
No.
When it comes to a situation like this, or certain fields where lives are at risk, you give the job to the best, most competent person, regardless of gender, regardless of race. This is not a time to make people feel better by handing them things.
Exactly.
By giving somebody who's not qualified a position for modern day fields, you're putting people's lives at risk. And I think maybe something should go into that as well. Look at the reasons why this person was hired. Was she vetted? And I don't think she was. And I think people responsible for hiring her in the first place and not firing her when issues came to life, I think they should be held liable as well.
I agree. Absolutely. Do people in the chat agree that he should be sent down? Let me know. But we'll keep an eye on it. Very interesting. The fact that he did do an interview straight after the incident, kind of baffling to me. I don't know if for me, by listening to him, there didn't seem to be any genuine remorse there. If I'm perfectly honest, but that's the way he comes across, because he does. Here's the thing, though: we have to be very careful because he does have a reputation in Hollywood. He is a bit of a hellraiser, and we have heard the audio. He's a very abusive person, even especially towards women. We do know that.
But I think also in terms of what's a criminal action and what isn't a criminal action, as much as we hate it, being a jackass isn't a criminal act. It's just You're being annoying. So I think in cases like this, because we don't want to be like the other side and saying, okay, this person is a terrible person. This person said things I don't like, so this person is automatically responsible for this.
There's due process and stuff. Yeah.
No. So in this case, I think if we're going to look at this objectively, we have to look at two things separately. Yes, he is a jackass, but being a jackass isn't a crime.
Exactly.
Although his arrogance may have contributed to this, what we have to look is the crime itself. And the fact is he's liable here on multiple levels.
Yeah.
He's liable for not taking action beforehand. He had authority on the set. So we can't look at what he's like as a person. We have to look at the act. And I think it can be proven without a doubt, because not only was he the person that pulled the trigger, rightfully or not, he was the person or one of the people that hired this person. And he's one of the people who did not take action when it was noted that there were issues with it, especially since most of the crew had walked off the set, I think a couple days or so before this, citing safety issues because of this person. So we don't need to look at him. He's an asshole, so that's what makes him guilty. No, the facts of the case are what makes him guilty.
Exactly. Exactly. And we have to be, as he said, we have to give this fair shake and due process. I mean, obviously, we will keep an eye on it because now that he's charged, there's going to be a court case, I'm assuming. So we will keep an eye on that and keep you updated on that. But let's get into DC. So Jason Momoa apparently had a meeting today, and this is what he was quoted as saying after the meeting. So to me, what this reads is that he's coming back as Aquaman, but it's not being confirmed, obviously. But so this is what apparently. So IGN says Jason Momoa suggests he'll be sticking around for the DCU. The actor posted a video on social media thanking Peter Safran, James Gunn, and David Zaslav. I can never say his name properly. Zaslav. After what seemed to be a very good meeting with the heads of Warner Brothers and DC. But here's the question that I want to ask. Are people actually bothered if Jason Momoa comes back? Because the reason why I'll ask is obviously the new Aquaman movie, Aquaman 2, hasn't been released yet. But of course, we know who's in that movie, the one and only Miss Amber Heard. And because she's in the movie, there's been a bit of a backlash. So I want to ask you guys in the chat. I'll ask Chris. Chris has already given his answer, says no, but I'll get him to elaborate on it a little bit more. But I mean, it's the same with the thing. I might as well bring it up as well. So James Gunn is also dismissed. So some site out there was claiming that Superman had already been cast, and he said that Superman has not been cast yet. That what he normally does is he writes the script first, and then he then goes out and picks the cast. And so Superman, even though it's been reported out there, has been cast. James Gunn himself has said that Superman has not been cast. Just stop being an idiot, James Gunn, and just rehire Henry, you bloody fool. As for Aquaman, I'm not watching Aquaman 2. I have no interest in it because there's an abuser in the movie. Just like The Flash, I won't be watching The Flash movie because Ezra Miller is a scumbag and was charged as well. So I don't care. I think DC is dead. DC, basically what needs to happen is there needs to be a complete clear out. If they're going to clear out, they should clear everybody out. The fact that Ezra is sticking around has stuck up a lot of people's crawl, and this is why we're not interested anymore. So firstly, I'll ask you, Aquaman, Jason Momoa apparently had a very good meeting, Chris, and it looks like he might be sticking around. But does it matter?
Well, what seems to me is it's almost like one after another. He's bringing back everybody except for the two people that the fans want to see come back, Henry Cavill, and to a lesser extent, but still a lot too, Ben Affleck, because it's clear, I think at this point, that Henry Cavill isn't coming back, and I think it's pretty much clear that that Ben Affleck isn't coming back, and I could barely even, my head is still pounding, so I only half know what I'm saying. But the people that are coming back, Ezra Miller, don't care, don't want to see. Margaret Robbie, good at what she did, but not excited at all. Jason Momoa, unfortunately, Aquaman, anyone and everyone related to that is tainted. If that movie comes out with that certain person, as another YouTuber often says, a certain Aquaman starlet, we'll just go with that. If she's involved, I have no interest in it. I have no interest in anyone that's involved with it. And I think for a lot of us, it's we see men get canceled in Hollywood all the time. Some cases, just look at Noel Clark, for instance, for things that haven't been proven or have been disproven. Their careers are destroyed. Here we have somebody who it's been definitively proven, I would say, in a court of law, that no, she did do these things. And if she were a man, she'd be living in a cardboard box, but it's because it's on the other shoe. I'm like, okay, why is this person not being treated the same? Men have been edited out of entire movies.
Yeah.
Look at, just to use another example, Jack Bowerman um, had shot scenes for that certain British show in the Flux of Things season, and his scenes were removed completely and replaced with somebody else. And he'd never been charged with anything. He just did some things that he'd apologized for, but they decided to bring up. But here we have the certain Aquaman starlet still maintaining her position in that movie, not being reshot. And I will not see this film if she's in it.
Yeah.
I don't. A lot of people will not see this film if she's in it. And that goes for everybody involved with it. Like if Jason Momoa comes back, I'm sorry, dude. I boycotted your previous movie, and I think everybody that does, if this goes forward with that certain person in it, has perfect justification. And I will not see any Aquaman going forward. So, and I think he has the power where he could have pushed to have this person moved. He could have threatened, and obviously, if he had a meeting, I'm like, okay, if you want me to come back, this person being involved in this film is going to tank the film, so please remove her. So obviously today, if he had a meeting which involves him staying, in theory, because the movie has not been released yet, it would have been in his power to say, let's have this person removed. So if this goes forward, if you do another movie, then obviously you're all for this individual being in the movie. And,
Chris Persia in the chat says there, but he thinks if he is coming back, he's not coming back as Aquaman. Gunn wants him to be Lobo, so we can't tell what will happen moving forward.
Yeah, so, I've heard that too.
Would you be in favor of that? But again, I think it's all too late because you're keeping the Flash movie. And you're obviously going to release Aquaman 2, and it's going to have that sword in it.
The DC universe isn't confusing it enough as it is. Let's make it even more confusing. Yeah. I'm like, Marvel and the DCU have the same problem on opposite ends. Marvel is too interconnected, where you have to watch all their garbage to understand what's going on, where the DC on film is an absolute disaster. You have no idea what's connected to what unless you follow it intricately. They've got multiple stories going on at the same time. So now let's complicate it even further by casting an existing actor in another role while still keeping certain elements of the universe that this person was previously in under a different role. I have no interest in seeing it. I'm like, it's got to be hard for even DC fans to keep track of.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous now. I mean, DC, they shot themselves in the foot when they got Henry going anyway. They don't realize getting rid of Henry what the impact that's gonna have. They won't feel it yet, but they certainly will. People, there's a lot like myself. There's a lot of fans. Yes, has Henry Superman being perfect? Absolutely not. But he's never been really given a good go of it. He's had one movie, and he's been a bit part in all the other movies. Even in Batman versus Superman, he was a side player in that movie, right? This is why we wanted the second movie, because he deserves that second movie. Because Henry has kind of, well, people won't agree with me saying this, but I'll say he's kept the DCEU alive, in my opinion.
I think him and Ben Affleck's Batman, love Ben Affleck or hate him, I think that was another important part, and I think it's one of the few good things about the universe.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Look, we'll keep you updated again as usual on the DC stuff, but I think they've made a lot of mistakes right now. And then James Gunn's responses. When fans criticised weren't great either. He tried to blame it on, as usual, a toxic side.
And people won't go see your movie, even if your movie's good.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Right, just before, obviously, we scrolled the news, but I seen this today, and I'm just going to briefly bring this up. We're not going to talk about it too much because this topic of conversation is highly controversial to the left, and I don't want to get any more abuse than what I've got today. So I'll just briefly talk about this. So Pink Floyd, you know that absolutely wonderful.
I never
Band.
got into Pink Floyd myself. I have tried.
Yeah.
I have tried. I could never get into Pink Floyd, but
So
oh
they
dear, I'm just seeing what you put up. Really?
so they put 50 because 50 years, obviously, right? Or 50 whatever the 50 is. Okay. I think it's 50 years, isn't it? It would be. Anyway,
Could be.
yeah. So these tosspots went into the profile, and they're given out to Pink Floyd now because apparently they've appropriated the Pride flag, apparently, which isn't. See, again, they haven't got a clue because they don't like music. But so they've been criticised for this, and as you can tell, it hasn't gone down very well. What is this, Pink Floyd? What a disgrace! Look at the rainbow. You're making yourself look stupid. Are you going woke with the rainbows? Is there a straight flag? I want equal representation. Don't get me wrong. We should all be true to who we are. Peace. And someone says, "What's up with the radio?" So they've been accused of basically from the left of appropriating, and obviously the other side or fans of Pink Floyd are not happy because they think they've gone woke. So this is the world that we're living in right now. Both sides are acting absolutely fucking ridiculous because this is what society is now. Remember, we're being all distracted by all of this and the stuff, all the nasty shit is happening. Their governments are taking our powers away. This is what all of this is being designed to do anyway, right? All of this nonsense that's going on in society and going on around the world. It's to distract us from what's really going on. But I had to bring this up because I'm sick and tired of this. It's fucking colours on a fucking in a circle, right? Okay, they happen to represent some colours of the fucking flag, but who gives a shit? Get over yourselves, both sides, okay? I bet half of you that fucking made a comment don't even listen to Pink Floyd. So shut the fuck up. Sick of all. Fucking both sides. It's getting annoying now at this stage. Both sides. Just fucking leave it out, will you? Just get on with your lives.
Sigh.
I mean,
I don't follow this. I try and follow this as little as possible because
I just wanted to bring that up on a very brief, very.
Oh quickly. No, I can see your point, and I think it's a valid point, bringing up the absurdity, and it is absurd. But it's like I hate this world. That's why, like I was talking to you guys on chat earlier. I'm to the point now where I just pretend it's 1995 again and just shut the outside world out. And the best thing y'all can do is stay away from social media. I now have one social media account, which is my Cultivated Media Twitter account. I don't use anything else. I don't even use Facebook anymore. And I just have that one account. So occasionally I can make fun of people like I kind of did today because they're idiots. But for the most part, I post pictures of movies. But trust me, stay away from social media. Your life will be so much better. When I got my new phone, the first thing I did was uninstall the Facebook app because to hell with Facebook.
That's it. Well, anyway, just to kind of, again, the computer's doing all mad things here, but hopefully I can read this out to you. So the Mary Sue, as you know, the Mary Sue, especially since I've been on YouTube the last 5 years, have been the most toxic media outlet that you'll ever come across. They hate men, okay? This Mary Sue magazine is obviously aimed at feminists. They hate men, but now they've got a new target in J.K. Rowling. And I want to read this little snippet from an article that they put out because this is how bad the Mary Sue actually is. And Geeky Sparkles Skywalker put this up on our account. So shout out to Geeky Sparkles Skywalker.
Hey, Geeky. Yeah, I think I've streamed with her before.
Yeah. I think you have stream. I haven't had the pleasure yet of streaming with her, but I know a couple of you guys in the community have, and people I know. But J.K. Rowling, right? So this is what the Mary Sue say. J.K. Rowling made off with billions of dollars. While we can't control her financial legacy, we can control her artistic legacy. We can choose to rag on these books until the end of time, and at least that will stick it to Rowling's great grandchildren. So what if we weren't responsible for their great grandmother's problematic views? They're rich kids. They could use a little love tap from karma here and there. Maybe a big love tap, huge, knock some teeth out.
Nobody cares.
Right? So the Mary Sue has basically urged its readers, right? Even after JK has passed away, when that time comes, which hopefully is decades from now, but when she passes away, if she has any kids and great grandkids, they want their fans, they want people that read their articles to go and harass and bully J.K. Rowling's family after she's dead, because they don't like the fact that J.K. Rowling defends women's spaces. J.K. Rowling is not transphobic. She's protecting women's spaces, and I am with her 100%. I'm seeing it on a daily basis, even in this country. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yep,
it's absolutely disgraceful.
And we are now doing the exact opposite of what we have been accused of for years, and they can't see the irony in this.
I know. So I just wanted to bring that up, but that just goes to show you how depraved all of these media outlets are, especially the ones, and Chris will agree with me here, but especially the ones that are specifically for feminists, right? And these new fangled what's a third wave, fourth wave feminism, whatever it's called.
This isn't even third wave feminism. Third wave feminism, it was misleading, which is why I think like only 6% of women would even declare themselves to be a third wave feminist. It was kind of a female supremacy movement. It was just more silly than anything else. No, this isn't even third wave feminism. I'm like, yeah, they brought in the intersectionality, but it was all about them. So this isn't even in line with that. This is something even more nefarious. But here's the thing: it's a very small minority that's going after J.K. Rowling. And to be honest, I had never, up until like a little over a year ago, or no, it's 2000, so 2 years ago, I'd never even read a Harry Potter book. I'd never watched the movies. Then during one of the Amazon Prime sales, they had the Harry Potter Blu-ray set on for all the movies for insanely cheap. I think it was like, I don't know, 20, $25 or something. So I bought it. And this was 2 years ago. So December 2020, I ended up marathoning my way through all the films over the course of a week. I'm like, I don't know how I've avoided this for so long. But this is a very small
I could never get into them.
People. Well, look at how the recent game, Hogwarts, as much as they've tried to cancel it, I believe is it not the biggest game on the planet right now?
Yeah, it's the Hogwarts Legacy, because all of the left were doing their little videos and telling everybody if they bought the game, they're transphobic and they shouldn't support it. And then, as I said, I actually wrote up a tweet on someone's video after they asked everybody, and I said, this is what's going to happen, mate. The fact that you're actually coming out and asking people to boycott is going to have the opposite effect. And I says, congratulations, you've just given that game free advertising. When the game was released on Steam, it became #1 game.
It's apparently it's outselling even all the free-to-play games.
Yeah.
So this just goes to show that these people, they are the loudest voice, but they're a minority, because most normal people are not going on about this kind of crap or even against it on Twitter all the time, because normal people have lives. So not these people, all they have is Twitter, all they have is their Facebook hate echo chamber. They're miserable, they're awful people. And I've seen, I won't mention names, but I've seen karma come for a few of these people recently, and I've laughed my arse off.
Yeah. I was
But
going to put up that screenshot of your man giving out about Big Finish, but I dealt with him today, so I'm not going to bring it up.
I don't even want to give that person
exactly.
the time of day.
But I just want to tell you something
I
funny.
won't mention the name, but it was another one that came out recently. A few years ago, I said this individual is going to have a very hard time of it when the real world comes to kick him in the ass, and it has kicked him in the ass. So things like that. It's like, I told you. You're telling me I'm an idiot. I'm like, nope. You didn't know how the world works back then, but you sure as hell know now.
By the way, I haven't got the fucking thing because Migration Watch have actually deleted the picture. But they did something actually that put a bit of a chuckle on my face, but at the same time I was kind of thinking, I have to defend Jodie Whittaker here because it's not right. So
okay, so I just need to say this before we go ahead. So everybody in the chat, we're canceling Noel.
Thank you. Okay. Anyway, the reason why I defended her was because she was put on a migration poster, right? And this migration poster was talking about reducing the population. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think Jodie Whittaker, she's all sorts of things, but she's certainly not a racist. So what they did was they used an image. They didn't even use a stock image. Do you know what they did? They went into a BBC. They went into the, do you know the show where she was a nurse or something? Or a doctor? Do you know the poster where she's standing there? Well, they used that on the poster, talking about reducing the population and all of this, and
I'm sure they want to reduce the population of only certain groups. I'm guessing. I haven't heard.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? So I asked them, like several other people, did you get permission to use that image of Jodie Whittaker? And it looks like they actually haven't, because I've just checked there now, and the tweet has been completely removed. So, again, I will call this out. Look, it's just ridiculous.
No, it sounds like a valid opinion for a
no, it is. That's what I mean.
Lawsuit.
That's what I mean. That's what it is. It is. If they didn't use our image, you can't just use someone's image.
No, she does support people who do. Well, she may not have that view herself. We don't know one way or the other, but she does support people who have that view. But yes, in this case, it does appear that she was misrepresented without her position, and we know what that's like. So again, we have to look at this objectively. If she was misrepresented, then it's again a possibility for a legal issue. And I had a good laugh at what you just pulled up.
I want to talk about this, right? And I don't normally get into this on the channel.
Oh no, this is ridiculous.
I never talk about climate change. I never talk about, because I don't like to get involved, because you know what happens when you do. But there are two videos of this so-called arrest, right? Now this woman, right? Because she is a woman now. This woman has to be stopped at all costs, right? Now I'm going to show you this video, right? Now, before Chris says that, I'm going to show you this video, right? Okay. And you cannot tell me that this is an actual arrest. I have never seen, I'm telling you, I've never seen something so blatantly staged in all of my life. And this is staged. This is not a conspiracy theory like people will throw out there. Oh, you're being a conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy theory. The cops are literally laughing. She's laughing. The fella beside her is literally laughing. Right? They actually, you know what? They actually set it up as well. There's another video where you see it being set up. But I'll play this video. It's only 35 seconds. But the smugness on her face, just everything about this girl, to me, this woman, I should say, young woman, is just, look, I'm just going to say something. Climate change is not a hoax. The hoax is that we're responsible for it. The climate is going to change whether we like it or not, because it's happened. I would just like to,
before you show the stupidity, Noel, there are natural climate shifts over time. It has been well documented within the last 1,000 years. Two of them are on record. There's what's called the mini medieval ice age, where the average temperature on Earth for roughly about a 200-year period, which corresponds with the medieval period.
Yeah.
Dropped 2 to 4 degrees. That's why when you see it depicted, the sky's always bleak, because it was during that period. It's also one of the reasons why humanity went a little bit, medieval, literally, during the period, because the climate was frigid. And then there was a mini ice age in the 19th century, which was not as severe, but in the second half of the 19th century, the temperature not as great, but from 1 to 2 degrees on average did dip again, which turned itself around in the 20th century. Now we're experiencing the opposite end, which scientists say is perfectly predictable, because it will go from one end in meteorological terms. It does take hundreds of years for things to switch. So now we're at the opposite end of the switch, where the climate is getting hotter. But what these idiots are not taking into account, because most of them have only existed in this century, those of us who were around in the 19th century, especially those of us old enough to remember the 80s, at one point the earth was very highly polluted. Remember what cars used to be like, the smell of exhaust fumes.
Do you remember everywhere. They used to have the exhaust fumes coming out of cars?
We used to have fallout days in the mining community I grew up in, because the tailings would be so bad.
Yeah.
Most of that was switched throughout the 90s.
It was. That's when they start bringing in over here. They start bringing in over NCTs, which was if your car was over a certain age, you had to bring your car into this place and they check it up.
That was brought in 2000, and it has made a difference, because I remember, if you were downtown in any city in the 80s, even into the 90s, early 90s, all you could smell was exhaust.
Yeah.
The technology changed in 1993 when most cars were no longer carbureted. So typically it's any car, at least in North America, any car made before 1993. And I know I've had a few of them. They were exhaust nightmares. Anything made after 1993 had the new emission standards put in. In Ontario, emission standards were brought in 2000. And even at the time, it was any car before 1993 had a very difficult time passing the test, where unless there was something wrong with your car, anything after 1993 would pass. And as we noticed, as the carbureted cars started to disappear off the road in the 2000s, you notice that you could walk downtown, or if you've ever driven on the 401 in Toronto, which is one of the busiest highways on the planet, in the 90s, you wouldn't want to roll down your window because you'd die from the exhaust fumes.
No, exactly.
It's like I've driven on there in traffic jams with my window down. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. But by the way, just to let you know, right, because this all ties in. So in the 1960s, the CIA banned a book called The Pole Shift. Now, the reason why we know that they banned the book is because recently they have released, when I say they've released the book, basically 56 pages of a 300-page book have been released. And even at that, some of the stuff is being blanked out. But this guy's book was basically about the pole shift. Now, NASA have already told us that the pole has shifted. We've shifted a few degrees.
Yeah,
right? And NASA has already told us as well that the solar output is unusual, right? Just like it would have been all those other times that we had this. We're around now. That's the difference. We got more technology.
Well,
we're here.
Remember, this was big in the 90s. The hole in the ozone layer. When was the last time you heard about the hole in the ozone layer?
It's healed itself.
Why do you think that is? We no longer have a hole in the ozone layer.
We think
we reversed a lot of the damage.
Yeah, we did. It healed itself. The ozone layer, they've even said it, the ozone layer, because we got rid of the CFCs and all of that other rubbish and stuff like that. But here, let's play this video because I don't want to bang on about this, but I want to show you that band.
This helps set the stage. But
this is
I
Paul.
My head hurts too much, but yes, let's.
By the way, if you just want to check out the information about that book that I'm talking about, the book is called Pole Shift. Okay, and it was banned by the CIA
Oh yeah, and
in
one other
the
thing before you
60s.
play this, Noel, another thing you need to check out, which I think they're trying to bury. Check out An Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore's, I think it was
Oh,
2005 or
seen it.
2006 film.
Seen it.
They're trying
Seen it.
to bury that because
I
according
know.
to that, we would have been underwater 10 years
We
ago.
should have been underwater.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, according to that, we'd all be dead now.
Yeah.
So
Someone.
I think it's been pulled from circulation, but you can probably find it on the pirate seas. If you want to go watch what they were saying, like 16, 17 years ago.
Yeah. Look at every 10 years or so they change it. First is climate. What was it? It was the
ozone layer, then
it was the ozone layer. Then it wasn't climate change. It was something else. What was it? It was yeah.
Except the rainforest, the simple policy of sustained.
Global warming. Yeah. So
yeah, no, first, global warming, then global.
What happened? Global warming, because we were supposed to heat. Yeah, exactly. Global warming. Global warming. Now it's climate change. They change it all the time. But let's play this video because I want to get this done and over with. But this video has been viewed 11.8 million, and you can just see by her smug little face there. This woman here and all her supporters should be thrown in jail, in my opinion. They have fear-mongered the population into believing this hoax that we're responsible. The climate is going to change. Now, I will say something to Greta and all her supporters. What you don't realize is there's nobody like me or families out there that are struggling to pay their bills, put food on the table, are going to give a fuck about climate change. Anyway, you've lost already. No, if you want to actually make a difference, Greta, right? Here's the thing, right? You want to actually make a difference, then go to China, go to India, the two of the biggest polluters in as we know, and it's been verified. They're the two biggest polluters. They put out the most pollution than anybody. And they actually say that if every household in Britain and Ireland were to actually implement the changes that Greta and her crowd are talking about, it would have minimal impact on the climate. But what Greta doesn't understand either is that the impact that all of this stuff that she's talking about has on the environment, right? So they're all worried about the climate, but they're not worried about the environment, right? Those wind farms, right? When those propellers break and all, you can't recycle them. They bury them underground. The lithium batteries, they can't do art with them. They have to bury them underground. When you're building these wind farms, you're causing environmental damage. When you're putting them out in the sea, you're affecting the sea life. So she's a bit of a hypocrite, this woman, when she's gone around telling us about the climate, but she doesn't seem to give a shit about the environment. Will I give more crap about the environment? Because I think we should clean up our oceans and clean up our beaches and do all the things that we can actually make a difference and do. The recycling stuff, I'm all for. Yes, let's all recycle. It is good. We don't want all of that ending up in the sea and all of that. But she doesn't get all of that, right? And she doesn't understand that there's people in Britain and Ireland right now, right, that can't even feed their kids.
Well, after you show this video, yeah, I'll make a point. But
right.
Yeah, we'll watch the video.
Here we go.
First.
She's laughing.
You also want those for you, man?
Narcissist, ego trip. This is all about her. All about her.
By the way, here's the hypocritical nature of her family. So that's Greta there, and she's a environmentalist or whatever you want to call her, and yet her sister's a pop star. So her sister's equipment is being moved all over the world in trucks and stuff like that.
These people, it's not about the environment. This is about her wanting to be famous because she doesn't even understand what she's quote fighting for. And I can tell you from my perspective, because yes, things might be cold in Ireland and the UK, but I live in Canada. Now we've been lucky this year because it's been a warmer than usual January, although we've only broken a few records. So no, this isn't new. And the records that we did break were from specifically the 80s, I think 1988 specifically. But she's against she's trying to stop non-renewable energy. Now, in my country, it's actually a matter of life and death because in Ontario has some of electricity for us isn't an option for heating because we already have the most expensive electricity costs on the planet. We have for about 15 years, and it was our Liberal government that was responsible for that. But because of the infrastructure, most homes up here rely on natural gas. And typically in the winter, we're dealing with, in January and February, minus 30, often minus 40-degree temperatures. Even with the mild winter we've had, and I've set the way I keep my houses during the day, it's 19 degrees. At night, it's 18 degrees, which is a hell of a lot colder than I used to have it. But my last gas bill in a warmer winter with my house several degrees lower than I've ever had it was the most expensive electrical bill I'd ever had. And if we have a cold snap in February, which we usually do, where it's frigidly cold, often goes on for weeks. People right now, and because of food prices and everything else, a lot of people they can't pay their bills as they are. With energy prices, which are caused by these idiots that push to restrict energy, if we have that cold snap, people are going to lose everything. Because
a lot of people,
your average house, your electricity bill could be $700, $800, $900, even $1,000. That's how bad it is.
A lot of people are gonna. I'm telling you, I could see it. A lot of people are gonna pass away when we get this cold snap, because we're actually in the middle of one right now. The ground is literally white out there, frozen. The last couple of days, so we're due some. These
people now. Well, and it's already happened because people around the world have frozen to death. These people have death on their hands, and I can't go too much longer because my head is like drilling with the migraine.
Yeah. Well, right, we'll be finishing up shortly anyway. This was going to be a short one tonight, folks, because Chris has a terrible migraine. So we'll just move swiftly on anyway. Just wanted to bring Greta into it because, I thought that was funny. But I saw this as well, and I think this is highly disgusting. And I won't say much on it, but I think this is disgusting, using Leonard Nimoy in this fashion. Whether his family do agree with the vax or not, we don't know what Leonard Nimoy's opinion would have been on it. But apparently they're having a Star Trek themed COVID vaccination campaign in Los Angeles. LeVar Burton joins Leonard Nimoy's family.
What does one have to do with the other?
I don't.
Wow.
I don't. No, that's what I'm saying. I don't get this, but I think it's highly disrespectful to someone that's passed away, because we don't know what his opinion would have been.
No, and when it's something that's this controversial.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to say any specifics because we don't want Noel to get in trouble, but there are some very valid and very serious questions out there right now on this issue.
Well, they're being asked now, but that's the difference now. Whereas before we weren't allowed to be asked questions, but now the questions are being asked because the media are actually starting to do their job. It's a bit late anyway, by the way. I just want to say.
I did notice Doctor Who at 60 and Beyond is in Buffalo. Dude, man, I am so sorry. I'm up here in Northern Ontario. It was nasty here. But watching what happened there, and I used to live not far from Buffalo. There was a time when I lived in Hamilton, Ontario, which is just a stone's throw away from Buffalo. I saw what went on with you guys is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. But remember, climate change, global warming, it's they'll sweep that under the carpet and pretend it never happened.
Exactly. Right, two more topics real briefly. So Cobra Kai season 6 is going to be the last. I have to say, personally, as I said, I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought this show could have probably went on for a couple of more seasons, but I suppose some people will argue maybe leaving it while it's on a high is probably the best thing. I don't know what you think about that, Chris. If you even watch Cobra Kai, if you don't, we can just move on.
I keep meaning to. I know I've been saying this to you for I think 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, you have to.
I keep meaning to. I just never have.
Yeah. You should check it out.
No, it's on my list. It's one of like 100 things I have on my list.
So I what was the last bit of news? Oh yeah. Obviously, Chris, I was going to ask you, do you want to tell everybody real quickly, or do you want to leave it till next week? We could do it next week. I was going to say about Halloween ends. Will we leave it till next week and we'll just wrap it up now, will we?
Oh, God, I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, we'll leave it till next week, yeah.
I will give you a spoiler. I was not amused.
Right. Well,
Except for when I was amused.
You actually said it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be, so that's why I was interested.
In summary, I'll go into it a little bit more detail. It would have been good if it wasn't a Halloween movie and it didn't have that ending. But as a Halloween movie, it was an atrocity. And that ending is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
Fantastic. Mando was back, but we'll talk about that next week. Look, I am going to leave it there now because all of a sudden my stomach has decided to do some somersaults. So I actually have to leave, if you know what I mean. So we'll leave it there.
Normally Nolan and I chat after the stream. But yeah, I'll be leaving as soon as we sign off.
Right. So we'll leave it there, folks. Chris, do your social medias there.
I now exist only on Twitter, horror_fan1978. Don't bother with any of my other accounts because that's the only social media I use now because I'm anti-social media.
Fantastic. And you can catch me. Sorry about that. I have to come in here. You can catch me here over the weekend. So we leave it there, folks. I'm sorry this is a short one, but you know, we have to leave it there, seriously. So you can catch me here over the weekend. I'll see you then. Have a good one, folks. See you later.
Take care, all.
See you. Bye. Bye.